Webs, hope you have an amazing day. So today I thought I would do a video of the big question. Why did I come to Japan? That's always the question. If I meet someone new, they always go, why did you come to Japan? Why Japan? Why Nihon? Why did you come here? You could have gone anywhere in the world. Why did I come here? And to be honest, I kind of hate this question because I don't really know what the answer is. Why did I come here? There's a multiple of reasons why I came, and I feel like none of them's like maybe like the answer that people are looking for, or like what answer do they want. I think like that question's very different for everyone, and I thought I'd say like why did I come? Why did I come to Japan? So there's a multiple of reasons for it. I did one holiday here and I really did like the culture and everything I experienced, and I was like, I want to see more of Japan. I've always had a slight interest in Japan from a young age. Like, I think the start for everyone is like watching a little bit of anime. Compared to other people, I didn't watch lots of anime. I remember I really liked Pokemon and I liked Card Capture. Those are the two big ones I remember. And I remember I watched a little bit of like Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's one of those weird things, like I've had that little bit of interest, and I knew from a young age, like especially for my schools, if they gave the opportunity, if you could pick any language in the world, I would have picked Japanese from a much younger age. Like, if I had the opportunity to study it, I definitely would have picked Japanese. I remember when I did French at school, I always thought, oh man, if they had if my school offered Japanese, I would have taken it instead of French. So it's those small things I found for me was interesting. Like there's always that kind of small interest in the Japanese culture, and then it kind of just grew over time. Like I really enjoy going to all the shrines and temples here. I really like Shintoism. I like just the beauty and the architecture. I love doing all the Goshuins and doing the good luck fortunes. And what was interesting, for me, I always say that as like the safe option. I say the safe option, but I never know what to say, like why, and sometimes that will be my answer as like, oh, I really like the Shintoism, going to the shrines and the temples. And I say this to like a lot of Japanese people sometimes, and they're really shocked with this answer, because I thought that was like a pretty common answer to why people want to come and live in Japan. But every time I've said this, they get really shocked by that answer, because they're like, oh wow, that's really different. And I'm like, really? I thought that'd be like the common answer, like, you know, they like the shrines, the temples, they like exploring all the design, the architecture, like which god lives in which temple and like which one represents. Like I find that really interesting. And when I spoke to like a lot of the locals, they're like, no, that's normally not the reason. I think the big reason for what they hear a lot is the whole anime and the weeb and the otaku culture, which for me really shocked me, because I was like, oh, I thought it would be more. So yeah, that always really gets me when I speak to a local and I say like, I really like the Shintoism, like that like kind of floors them, because I'm like, wow, that's really unique. And I'm like, is it? Yeah, so that really shocks me for that side. But one of the biggest reasons I came was I was just really burnt out. So in England, I was working in the healthcare at the time. I was working for the NHS. Now, I wasn't at the front line. My job was very more behind the scenes, but my big job was working with people with autism and learning difficulties and helping them if they had to go into like a psychiatric hospital, making sure we could get them out of the hospitals and return them back to society, so they don't cause like any trouble. Not everyone was bad, trust me. The scale was like some did some extremely bad situations, and some just had like a poor start to life, and then it's just kind of making sure we can get them out of hospital and get them returning safely back to society. But the job was interesting. I did enjoy it, but my biggest issues was COVID happened. The biggest issue was there was too much mismanagement at the top, and there was like it was a simple top heavy scheme of there was too many managers and not enough actually working staff. And the company I was working for within the NHS, it wanted more work, but it didn't build the infrastructure for the team and stuff they needed to actually run this. And it was just so top heavy. Like we had like 10 managers and only 3 admin, and it's like, well, hold on, this doesn't work as a decent triangle. You know, they took a lot of contracts. Like, they took pretty much all of the southwest and the southeast of England, and it was like, you're taking on, I knew at the time, I was like, you're taking on way too much work without getting the right staff. And that was the biggest thing for me. Like, I was doing the work of probably 2 or 3 people, definitely wasn't getting paid enough. I was trying to argue to be paid more money, but if you've ever worked within the NHS, it's all a band scheme. And they were like, well, you're on this band, but you haven't been in the job long enough, so we can't give you a pay rise. And I said to them, it's silly, because I'm doing stuff way above my pay grade. And I literally said to them at the end, I was like, what you're telling me is my job is insignificant. I could just keep applying for jobs on a higher band, and then eventually a job would probably take me. And they didn't know what to say to that, because I really sort of like floored their system. And I even told them, I was like, this company's going to crumble, because at the moment it's too top heavy. You want to do this and this and this, but you're not getting the admin. Oh yeah, one thing I did also want to add, I got onto a tangent, so I'm going to put it here. This is editor Kirsty. For my old job in the NHS, I called it at the time, because they were growing too fast without putting the staff in, and I thought, if you're not careful, you're going to lose all the contracts, and if you're not careful, the company's going to go bust. And I actually called it, because a couple of years later, the company's gone bankrupt. The company's liquidating. It's no longer going to exist. I think a part of also the reason for that was in England, they did know there was too many like middle management companies within the NHS, so they wanted to scrap some. But I called it. I said, if they're not careful, they're going to lose this whole company, because they're trying to grow too quick, not putting in the staff, and they're just paying too many managers. And obviously the managers aren't going to say there's a problem, because they want to keep their jobs, because they're all the ones, like, if it was in my chain, I would have cut half of those management jobs. And especially when I left, all the work of my job went to another management. It kind of showed a little bit that my job maybe was not as important, or it could have been merged to more money, or maybe, I don't know what's the best way to explain it, but I did think it was very shitty. My job, no one replaced me. All the work and responsibilities I did went to another manager, so they got a bigger workload and were still on the same pay. But the like vindication of knowing you can see like the ship is sinking and then you jump ship, it was just like, yes, I knew this was going to be an issue. So I'm also glad on that I moved to Japan, because if I was a bit like, no, I have a good job, I'm safe, I can do this for a few more years, I would have been out of a job by now. So yeah, really happy to see the kind of the red flags of a sinking ship during that time. So I'm grateful for the move, for me thinking that like, I should do the push, I should make the jump of coming to Japan, because yeah, I think if I'm not careful, there could be issues with the company in England. So yeah, very happy I called that out. And there was so much like HR drama at the time. Like, I remember there was one person, because we needed more staff, and they had jobs offerings, and I remember this one time, they really wanted to give the job to this person, but they scored really badly in the interview, and there was this person they did not want to give the job to at all, but they scored better, and they were like, well, we can't give this person the job because of the score, so it's like we won't take any of them. And it was, for me, I found it so frustrating, because the person who they wanted, and because they just did bad in the interview, it was just interview nerves, because it was they were doing like there was this time where they had they were doing the job already, but they had to do all the interviews for like HR procedure and all that kind of stuff, and because they just got really nervous in the interview and they just scored badly, we couldn't give the person the job, because they really didn't want to hire the other person, because they were also doing like a similar thing where they've been working for like a couple of weeks to help, but then there was job roles coming, and like I really hated the whole HR drama, because I remember in those meetings I said, this is stupid, like the person can do the job, you're just worried you don't want to get this person within the team. And I was on the verge of leaving anyway at that time, but I just thought this is part of the reason why I'm leaving, because there's too much HR drama. I don't like this inside politics, you know. It's all about if they can do the job rather than what they've said in an interview, because half the time people lie in an interview. It's all, you know, succeeding in an interview is its skill on its own, because so many people, you know, they will over exaggerate how great they are. They will say they've done this and this and this, you know. be able to like say what you can do in an interview is such a skill on its own, rather comparing to like what they can do in the job. Like I've seen it on the JET program when I was there, like seeing some of the people who got onto it, you're like, how did you pass the interview? But the interviews are only like 10 or 15 minutes, and as long as you can sort of sell yourself in 10 minutes, it's enough to give someone, you know, pull the wool over their eyes and go, wow, yeah, this person's really good. And then when they get here, it's like, oh, mate, how did you pass, sort of thing, you know. It's that skill of being able to sell yourself in 10 to 15 minutes. And it was small stuff like that. Like I felt underpaid, undervalued, and with also England and COVID at the time, England, the cost of living is way too much in England. Like I'd rather be somewhere hypothetically a little bit on the poorer side, and I can live. And that was the biggest thing. Like I felt with during COVID, I know everyone else was the same, but even before COVID, all I was doing is like go to work, go home, rest on the weekend, go back to work. I just felt like the cycle was just work, rest, do nothing on the weekends because you're too tired. Also with England, I couldn't really do a lot of things because everything's just too expensive. I just felt like I wasn't really living. It was more, I was living to work rather than work to live. And it was that thing of like, I can't do this anymore. I don't like it. And I kind of thought after COVID, I was like, I'm gonna apply to the JET program, recover from being burnt out, and go and explore Japan and see what that's like. And that's the biggest reason why. It's a mixture of all of that, like having the interest from the start, enjoying the Shintoism culture of Japan, and just becoming really burnt out from a job and not really enjoying life in the UK, and then going, well, let's have an adventure, let's have a change. And then since coming to Japan, I've actually I do quite enjoy teaching English. I wasn't sure how I was going to be as a teacher and my thoughts on it. It's for me, if you have a somewhat interest in teaching, I think the JET program is very good on like testing the waters, see like, do you like the idea of teaching or not? And then you can take it from there. And I just enjoy living in Japan is the biggest thing. Like I've said this in a couple of videos before, but I feel like I live in Japan. Like I do things, I can go out to dinner, I can afford an apartment, you know. I'm not asking for much in life. It's like I just want to do a couple of things outside of the apartment and not always be inside, and just, you know, explore, just going down the road, seeing what's like in this area, and just small things like that. I just want to see what Japan has to offer, and just, you know, enjoy the small little things in life. And that's what I do here. It's just, you know, I'll go for a walk, I might go to a cafe, go to a restaurant. That's all I kind of want. I just want to go and explore, and it doesn't cost me an arm and leg to do it, and I can do it pretty good in Japan. So yeah, those are my thing. That's my biggest reason. It was just a mixture of burnt out, bored, wanted to explore, having an interest of this country anyway. And you know, I've learned I enjoy teaching English, and I just love the exploring, and I'm of course very happy and content here. So I'm hoping to stay for another couple more years, and see what else Japan has to offer. But that's my reason. I feel like it's not a very big, deep one. It's just needed a change in pace, and at the moment Japan's given me what I wanted. For me, I do hope the cost of living can change eventually in the UK, because I would never say I'm never going to go back to England, because England is my home, and there is times I do miss it, but overall I don't miss it that much. And the biggest thing is the cost of living, because there has been times I'm a bit like, oh, maybe should I go back to England? But I always just think, what do I have in England? I just feel like I'll just go back to where I was before leaving Japan, and I don't want to go back into that kind of toxic cycle again. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts and opinions. I do hope the UK can fix its cost of living, because I do think it is a nice country and there is lots of great opportunities there as well. But the cost of living is just what I think is just killing it at the moment. And I'm not the only one. I see so many British people, especially my age, you know, late 20s, early 30s. A lot of them are immigrating to other countries because they're just like, we just can't do it anymore. It's too expensive. And I think a lot of the issues we're having in the world at the moment is just the cost of living, especially like the birthing crisis. I just think, you know, there would be more people willing to have children if they can afford a house, afford to have like 1 or 2 holidays once a year, and be able to go out without costing an arm and a leg. I feel like a lot of people aren't asking for stuff. They just want a simple life that can enjoy living, and a lot of those kind of nice things have been taken away, and people are, you know, I can see how people do lose a little bit of the will to live, because it's like, what's the point if all I can do is just barely afford rent and I just go to work all the time? There's no joy. That is part of the reason what I like with Japan. I find a little bit more joy in life, where in England I would still have to be living with my parents, going to work every day, not doing that much on the weekend because everything's just too expensive, and you know, where's the joy in life to that? But yeah, I've just kind of rambled a little bit near the end, but those are my reasons I came to Japan. If you've moved to Japan or you're thinking of moving to another country, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below. But yeah, that's why I came. That's my little story. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe, and if there's anything you want to see in Japan, or you have any questions about Japan life through the foreigner's perspective, let me know, and I will see you next time. Bye.